life practice community.
Hi, everyone. This is Shavon coming to you from the US in Maryland. Just go ahead and take a few more, if you're still in child's pose, go ahead and take a few more breaths. I was just watching for the last several minutes and I need a break. Maybe taking a moment to slow your heart rate down. Maybe focusing on taking some deeper breaths as you prepare yourself mentally for movement. Knowing that you can always come right back here to this child's pose, whether I tell you to or not. Maybe inhaling through the nose and sighing out the mouth. Take 3 more rounds of breath at your own pace. And then while you're still in that child's pose, walk your hands over to the right side of your mat. Maybe taking your left hand and placing it over your right palm, and just taking a moment to feel that stretch. Go ahead and walk your hands through center over to the left side of your mat. Maybe taking that right hand and placing it on top of your left palm and feeling the stretch along your side body. Slowly walk your hands back to center. Maybe taking a moment to walk your fingers forward a little bit just to feel a stretch along your shoulders. And then as you decide whether or not you want to get up and start moving again, go ahead and start walking your hands back and meet me in table. In this tabletop, check your alignment. See that your shoulders are stacked over your wrists and your hips are stacked over your knees. Untuck the toes and just start to wiggle things from side to side. Let your hips fall to the left and to the right. Maybe your head and shoulders wiggle along with it. Take one more complete right, left, and then come to stillness in your table. Sit back onto your knees and then rise up, inhaling your hands over your head. Exhale your hands down to heart center and keep going back down to table. But then bend it at the elbow, allow your head to come down to the mat. Inhale, come back up to table. Exhale, forehead down to the mat. Inhale, rise all the way back up on your knees. Inhaling your hands above your head. Exhaling them down to heart center and down by your side. We'll take that a couple more times. Inhaling up. Exhaling, fold forward. Bring your forehead down to the mat. Inhale for a halfway lift that brings us up to the tabletop. Exhale, forehead back down to the mat. Inhale, back up onto your knees, arms above your head. Exhale, down to heart center and down by your side. One more time. Inhaling your arms up. Exhaling, fold forward. Keep going, forehead makes it down to the mat. Inhale, rise up to table. Exhale, forehead to the mat. Inhale, rise all the way back up. Hands above your head, maybe take a biggie back bend here. Exhaling your hands to heart center and then down by your side. Come back down into table and then walk your hands about one hand distance in front of you so that you get, and shift your hips forward so that you get to this modified plank. Keep moving your hips forward, untuck the toes so that your hips go down towards the mat. If they reach the mat, great. Maybe your gaze is up. On the exhale, start to shift your hips back and push back like you're going into child's pose. Leaving your arms long and feeling that stretch. Inhale, move forward, hips come down, gaze goes up. Exhale, scoop the hips back and push back into child's pose. Take that 3 more times on your own breath. Maybe inhaling in one direction and exhaling in the other. Maybe even remembering to pull your belly back to your spine and keep your core engaged. When you finished your last rotation, just rest for a moment in child's pose, maybe spreading the knees to the width of the mat and just pausing there for a moment. Taking a few rounds of breath here. Continuing to just kind of slow things down a little bit. Some of you are troopers. Some of you have been here doing all the everything since 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on where you are. Take one more complete round of breath. And then rise up for just a moment and meet me in hero. And here, let's just give our wrists a little bit of attention. Take your time. And maybe do some wrist circles with your right wrists. And then go in the opposite direction. And then do the same. Give the same amount of attention to your left wrist. Not necessarily an indication that we're going to be doing anything on our wrists at all. Okay, and then go ahead and meet me back in table. In this tabletop, tuck your toes and lift your knees 1 to 2 inches off the mat and hold. Lower your knees back down to the mat. Lift your knees 1 to 2 inches off the mat again and hold. Lower your knees back down to the mat. Lift your knees one more time. This time we'll hold for a count of 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then push your hips up and back into downward facing dog. If you've been with us for a while, you're pretty warm in this down facing dog. If you're just joining us, put a bend in your knee. Maybe alternate bending your right knee and then your left. If you're all down dogged out, feel free to take a child's pose for a moment. But if you're not and you're up here in this down dog with me, come to stillness in just a moment. Putting your weight into your left palm, into the finger pads of your left palm, take your right palm and lift it off the mat. And maybe reach it back for your left ankle, shin, or thigh. And use your hand as a lever. Pull yourself under your armpit to get a twist here. Remembering to breathe. At the bottom of the next exhale, return that right hand to the mat. Put your weight into your finger pads. Lift your left hand off the mat and reach it back to reach for your right shin or calf or ankle or thigh, something over in that direction. And pull yourself underneath your armpit. At the bottom of your next exhale, return that hand to the mat. Take one more complete round of breath. And then maybe coming to the tips of your toes, shift forward into plank. Stay in full plank if you want. If you want to put your knees down, totally understandable. And untuck the toes. Pull your your elbows into your body and lower all the way down to the mat. Release your hands and lay them under your head. Give yourself a pillow for just a moment. After your next complete round of breath, take your hands and spread them out so that they are just on the outside of your mat onto your fingertips. Turn your gaze a little forward of where you are and lift your head and your chest off the mat and hold. Elbows are at a 90-degree bend. Tops of the feet are flat on the mat. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, head and chest lifts. Depending on where you are on the mat, maybe your gaze goes just over the top of your mat. Exhale, lower down. One more time, head and chest lifts off the mat. This time, turn your gaze over your left fingers and drop your right elbow towards the center of your mat. Inhale, lift back to center. Turn your gaze over your right fingers. Drop your left shoulder to the mat. Inhale, center. Exhale, everything down to the mat. Pull your hands in closer to your body, underneath somewhere in between your shoulder blades and your elbow. And then push back into child's pose. And hold there. Take one more complete round of breath, and then meet me back in table for just a moment. Tuck the toes. Push your hips up and back for downward facing dog. In this down dog, maybe you send your heels a little bit closer to the mat. Maybe you wiggle your tail from side to side. Or maybe you just pause in stillness and focus on your breath. You decide. At the bottom of your next exhale, walk your hands back to meet your feet and pause. Pushing down through all four corners of your feet, maybe bending at the knee, rise all the way up to standing, hands above your head, and exhale them to heart center and down by your side. We'll take one balancing pose here. So put all of your weight into your left foot, kickstand your right heel at your ankle, shin, or inner thigh. And then maybe just have your hands by your side. Maybe close your eyes as I teeter-totter from side to side. And see if that creates an additional challenge to your balance. What happens when we take one of our senses away? And then on the next inhale, start to turn your knee to face the front of the room. Start to raise your knee up towards your chest as far as it'll go on its own. And then use your hands to help it up just a little bit further. And hold. If it's in your practice and you want to grab underneath your foot, great. At the bottom of the next exhale, gently lower that right foot back to the mat and shake it out. And we'll take that on the other side, putting all of your weight into your right foot, kickstand your left foot at your ankle, shin, or inner thigh. If your hip starts to protrude out to the side, pull it back in to midline, drop the hands, nice and easy. Maybe allowing the eyes to fall closed and just breathing. With your next inhale, turn your knee to face the front, pull it up towards your chest, as high as it'll go on its own, and then use your hands to help pull it up the rest of the way, whatever the rest of the way is. Maybe placing your hands underneath your foot. Ooh, a little less stable on that side. After your next exhale, slowly allow that foot to lower back down to the floor and shake it out. From here, inhale your arms up above you. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, go forward. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to heart center, and then down by your side. Inhale, your hands up one more time. Exhale, fold forward. From here, walk your hands up until you're back into downward facing dog. And just pause here. Take 5 complete rounds. Maybe try to match your inhale and exhale. And then when you come to the bottom of your last breath, allow your knees to fall gently to the mat. Spread them wide, bring your toes to touch, and push back into child's pose. Resting your forehead on the mat. And continuing to breathe.